very much. I always get alerts on my phone, and if I can't get the general sense of what this is or what it's related to, I'm swiping it over. I'm not, and if I get to my desktop, I'm definitely moving it because then I'll remind myself, oh, that's that email I pushed through. So then I'm moving it to trash. But yeah, to Sir's point, I mean, I work from home, not going in the office, but at the same time, if I'm ever away from my desk, I'm even more conscious of what emails I really want to get back to. So that
Yeah.
mobile preview is really, really important to me in ensuring that my time is well spent on the ones that make the most value to me.
Yep.
Yeah, I'd agree with Jack there, especially just being a manager and being away from your desk sometimes. And, now we're returning to office and whatnot. Like my phone's super important to me and checking my emails or, getting calendar alerts. So typically, like if I see an important enough email, I'm opening it. And then if I don't have time to fully read it, I'll just mark it as unread. So when I get back to my computer, I can put more time and attention into it. Um, but yeah, sometimes I do have to swipe them away if it's not super crucial in that moment.
And on the topic of AI and the balance of length, I know I've seen people in the chat going back and forth on what's too long and what's too short. I think there is no perfect answer. If the message rolls and every sentence is, I always say, like, if every sentence is a banger, the eyes will keep rolling. But this is an example of where AI is helping the field. Say you send your email to a VP. Sadly, it has to be 160 words because you just have so many important things to tell them. If those first four sentences are a banger, like Jack was saying, and they're interested, now we have things like Gemini. They might hit Gemini and use that AI tool to summarize your 160 word email. But your subject line and those first two, three sentences were good enough to get them to do that. That's the power of that first moment of your outreach.
Absolutely. The reason why I set the stage with email with this is that prospects are 8 times more likely to open emails on their phone statistically. So, like when you optimize for mobile, you're just going to get more replies. And in general, unless you're writing really, really good emails, your email's probably longer than it should be. And I'm sure, sir, you use AI too to just even shorten down the email. Like, hey, could you make this more concise for me? Right?
I do that
Hard
all the
set
time.
rules.
Every
Hard
time.
set rules on my bots are like a 90 to 110 if
Yep.
necessary.
Yep.
Absolutely. And the best visual I could give you is this is the same email on desktop versus mobile. The desktop one, again, it's not like this is the best cold email I've ever gotten, but this is skimmable to me. Turn complete strangers into paying customers. I'm like, okay, yeah, that's our tagline. Mind if I share a unique approach? Okay, cool. Mobile, I just don't even want to look at that. My eyes just glaze over. It feels so chunky. So mobile optimization, like making sure that you are writing the email with them consuming the email on their phone in mind, like that's so important. What you're looking at here, this is a heat map.
Oh, cool.
And what the heat map is showing is it's an eye tracking study that Vidyard and Corporate Visions did. So one other thing that's really important when consuming email on a desktop is that most of us are using a second monitor like I am right now. So when you use a second monitor, when you have long paragraphs, that email spans the entire width of the screen. People don't read that shit. That's way too far across the screen. What you see there in red, that's the part where people spend most of their time reading the email. So this idea of like mobile optimization and making sure your email is mobile ready is super, super important. I'm going to give some more stats, and then we're going to look at the framework and look at some examples here in a second. Subject lines. Jack, I'll kick this first question your way. There's some data here that's pretty interesting that supports subject lines that are 5 words or less. But what are your overall thoughts on subject lines? What do you see people do, right or wrong, any of that kind of stuff?
Yeah. I think I mentioned it earlier. The things that I see, and someone actually mentioned another one, but first name, me personally, I just am not a fan of it. I think that just really, again, you're all about efficiency and making sure it's effective. I think people can read through the lines of like, my name's in a subject line. Someone is trying to get a hold of me. It's spammy, salesy, whatever you want to call it. I'm not a fan of it. I also am not really the biggest fan, but some people have success with it of putting their account name in the email. Like I see Mixmax plus ZoomInfo, like all like that happens all the time. I think that time is done. Like we need to get away from that. For me, subject lines, whatever your email, and this is what I try to tell my team, but there's so many theories you could do, is like if you had to round up your email into I say 5 words or less, 1 to 4 words, that's what you could use AI to do. It's pretty great in that instance of like, here's my email, craft me a subject lines in 1 to 4 words. Actually is a really good tool that you can use in that state. So yeah, that's my framework is, craft your email and then use AI to actually help craft your subject line to make sure it encapsulates everything that you're trying to do, but in a very short instance.
Yeah.
I
It's like the internal camouflage, I think, is super important. Right.
Yeah,
Our friend
yeah.
Will Allred over at Lavender calls it internal camouflage. And it's like, how can you make the email the subject line look like it's an internal email by putting something about them into the subject line versus about yourself? Sir, you're going to say something.
Yeah, I was gonna say I liked a lot of the points that Jack made. I think it's interesting. I'm in a bit of a hybrid role, so I'm gonna play a little devil's advocate because I think sometimes there's times where keeping ZoomInfo's name out of it and things like that isn't great. When I'm on the when I'm helping more on the customer side, someone who is licensed, trying to get them to show up for something a little important. Sometimes I'll do like a ZI plus Carhartt. Because they're aware, and that kind of would draw them to it. They know they have something to tend to in the partnership. Now, when it comes to fresh new contacts, though, tackling white space and opening the door to those that have never seen the partnership, sometimes I'm challenging myself to not jam it like a super long title, but similar to the phone email format. If I can get them to get the idea and I'm transparent enough, sometimes I think that brings a different level of value. For instance, I sent a data assessment email to a director of operations who specifically oversees Crystal Lake. And I just want him to know transparently, I am emailing you to expand the partnership. So this email title says ZI partnership and then dash operation data assessment opportunity for Crystal Lake. It's a longer one, but it is everything he needs to know in the subject line. And it goes on into more of his territory. But as part of our ongoing partnership that Fran oversees, our DAS team is offering complimentary data assessments to help operation leaders like you. That's also another example of like, I'm not jargoning you and telling you what we do. I'm just telling you I have something that I think specifically your role will care about.
Yeah,
I like that.
Let's keep moving. So subject lines. Again, we're going to share a few more slides with data, everyone, so that you have the framework. And then we're going to look at a couple more examples of what good looks like. And we'll give you like an AI run through as well. We're about halfway through the session. If anyone has teammates that have tried joining the webinar, the live stream wasn't working for the first couple minutes. It should be working now. So if you had anyone on your team that was trying to join the webinar and couldn't watch it because we were at capacity, they should be able to watch it now. So you can let them know that, please. Okay, so call to actions in terms of ending the email. I think this is a pretty interesting piece of data as well. And Gong did a big study, over 100,000 cold emails. And what they looked at is, how people ended the email and if that generated a positive response or not. And what they found is that interest-based CTAs outperformed other types of CTAs by over 2x. So in other words, asking prospects for their interest can be much more effective than asking for their time. It doesn't mean that you shouldn't ask for time. I think the mistake you can make is sending 8 emails in a row to someone that says, are you free next Tuesday at 2 p.m.? Right? Let's try not to hammer them too much with timed requests. This is what that looks like. We're going to share links, by the way. So at the end of this, you'll have the slide deck. You'll have like the AI prompts and stuff that we're going to give you. We'll share links so that you guys can look through this closer. But you can see there on the right, the interest-based CTAs, the low friction CTAs. It's open to learning more. Does it make sense to connect? Can I get a shot to share how this might be helpful for you at ABC? There's dozens of variations of what you can use there. Those are examples. What you really want to avoid is open-ended questions in emails. How are you handling lead gen? How are you handling HR? How are you handling getting visibility into your OT environment. If you sell cybersecurity, like these open-ended questions are great in sales conversations and on cold calls. They don't typically work that well in emails. So the basic framework, so we can give the people what they came here for, team, is we call it the reply method. I've seen lots of different variations of this framework taught in practice. But essentially what we want is, we call them boring subject lines. We want a short, succinct subject line that matches internal communication. The first line of that email should be very specific to why you're reaching out. So what did you find? What was that trigger? Show the prospect you did your homework. I should talk about a problem that we oftentimes hear their peers talking about or that's pervasive across their industry. We should offer some sort of value, social proof, how we can help, and then we're going to have a call to action. So reason, problem, value proof and social, or value and social proof, excuse me, and then our CTAs. So Marco asked, what do you mean by mirrors internal email? You want it to look like something that they could have received from someone at their company. That's the idea. So let's look at some examples. Jack, you had submitted a couple of examples. And there's some cool features of Mixmax that you're using in these too that I think you should talk about. But can you reverse engineer what we're seeing on our screen here and why this worked for you guys? And there's one other one that we're going to look at as well.
Yeah, for sure. My AE is going to kill me. I think they're on the call. So this is probably quickly figuring out I put them on blast here. But anyway, yeah, so this is one of my reps emails. This one, actually, I wanted to share examples that actually worked, but obviously there's no perfect email. Like there's always things, and I definitely have my criticisms on this one as well. I think the one thing that with this email in its own, what I liked about it that they did is they're hiring. And I think this is one thing that I'll say to the group here is if you're not going, like you have accounts that you're going after, if you're not looking at their active recs that are on their website, please do. I think this is such a huge way of kind of identifying what their strategic motion is in the near term, what responsibilities they're focusing on, priorities, all those. So in the Mixmax space, obviously sales engagement. We work primarily with salespeople, trying to make them more efficient and genuinely get more connections rather than just spray and pray, what we're actually talking about today. So that's kind of the whole point of that first email, showing that we know them, showing that they're actually, one of their priorities right now is hiring. Very top of mind. I know when I'm hiring, it's all I'm in right now with interviews, case studies, or assessments, whatever it may be related to that. It's very top of mind. So that's one thing that first line does. The rep talks about the struggles or the pains that come with reps balancing the two acts of developing outbound strategies while also reaching, prospects effectively. So, and then a really quick plug to how Mixmax does that. And I think one thing that we found is, or at least me, this is just me, I'm curious to hear Megan and Serge, is like, I get good emails all the time. I read them, but I just don't want to actually respond. That's just me. I'm very lazy when it comes to that. Like I get a good email and I'm like, oh, I'll get back to that. I never do. So I think the one thing that we have is a poll feature that we have for our own. And I know people are going to think like that looks like it wouldn't go through or deliverability would be an issue. It actually isn't, like most often. It really works really well. And it gives them just a quick way, give us a click. I see this all the time with SDRs, AEs. They'll give, A, B, or C in an email, but they have to write that. Like they actually have to, like, this is just a click. They get to, respond with just that one action. And then we know, oh, should we kick rocks? Or, okay, cool. Yeah, send me more information. I'm open to learning more. So that's quickly the framework that they did here. It rounded up, but Megan, sir, I want to hear you all go for it. Rip it
Yeah.
apart.
Love
I
that.
agree.
I love the poll box.
I think this is awesome. And on the last slide, when we were talking about the open call to actions, basically, or open-ended questions, I think that kind of assigns us a little bit more homework when you think about it, right? Like
Yeah.
I have to go in and think about this, and now I have to,
Yep.
send over all of my thoughts over email when this means, actually I am really interested and I do want to talk to them about it. So let's set up time or something like that. And I can just click a button. That's kind of like us over at ZoomInfo. We use Chili Piper for. We'll send over calendar links and whatnot. Hey, here's 3 times. Pick one if you want to meet with us. We'd love that. Yeah, I like how it gives you the option to not have to, send over all the information over email.
I feel like Little Nicky or something because I'm gonna play devil's advocate one more time.
Please do it. Do it.
I love everything that's being said. I do believe though, so, and Meg can test this. I'm in a role that I said is a little hybridy when it comes to hunting and nurturing. With that being said, though, so many people are looking to avoid and skip through the process, like you said. Some people want a one click, some people don't want to write their email back. So on our end, people will choose the Chili Piper time. When it comes to us getting paid in seat, though, we do need to vet and make sure the conversation is worth their time. Every once in a while, someone shows up, they have a director of operations title, but then they're at a funky org where everyone has a director title, and turns out they're actually just a rep. And I'm sure, Jack, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Gotta love org structure. But
Mhm.
when it comes to questions, sometimes those questions lead to just enough of an answer, not a full conversation. But for example, in that same email, I said, I'm curious, what types of data challenges do you face in managing the Crystal Lake facilities external relationships? Would you be open to a 15-minute conversation? No decision making needed, just socializing our existing partnership. I think that's a combination of an open-ended question with low friction, but an open-ended question that's placed so far in the email that I think they're gonna get the vibe that that question's more for the conversation itself.
Yeah.
And that's more like proving, hey, I'm coming to the table because I think this conversation is going to be worth your time. Is this even a topic you're interested in?
Yeah, that's good.
And it's placing
It's
it
almost
right
like
before the time selection.
a
Mhm.
rhetorical question where you're not
Yeah, yeah,
expecting them to answer the question in the email, but it's like the question is to set up the reason for the meeting.
yeah.
Exactly. And set the tone for them to be like, oh, this is the type of conversation I'm about to have.
Yeah, love it. So I think like when you guys are looking at this email, just for those of you in the chat, because there's a lot of back and forth, we're like, oh, I would never click on that thing. It's like,
I know. I love that.
um,
I love it.
take the concepts, okay? Maybe you don't use a poll, but the idea here is he's making it really easy to reply to the email.
Yeah.
Like that is the idea. How do you remove friction? The only feedback I would have for this, it's hard to give feedback to an email that works. It's just I think it could be the paragraphs. Like we could have more
Yeah.
paragraph breaks just to make it
That's what
read a little
that's what I
easier on
told
a phone.
them. It's just like, and I love that you shared what you earlier, Jason, with the heat map, because that's
Yeah.
literally what I said to them is like, as I'm reading through, going around, I'm losing interest as I'm going through. But yeah, like to your point, if it worked, it worked. But I think if you do this at a broader scale, I just don't think it'll work to that regard. But anyway,
Yeah.
yeah, I totally agree.
These polls work really good though. Okay, maybe it doesn't work on a 60-year-old IT buyer, but people that are used to seeing imagery and like that media and that type of stuff, like they just do.
Yeah.
Okay, so what I want to do now, just for time's sake, because we got about 20 minutes left, I want to get to the AI portions of this. Because basically what we've talked about so far, and the reason why I opened with this, I think it's really understand before we unleash AI, whatever platform that you're using, whatever LLM, before we just unleash that and start having it write a bunch of emails, it's important to train it on like what a good email looks like and like how we want it to write the email. So knowing the frameworks and principles from what we've shared so far is super important. So we're going to do two things right now. Sir is the I have not seen a rep use AI the way Sir uses AI. Okay. He's going to give you the 300 level version of this. Before we do that, I'm going to give you like the 100 level of like how to use ChatGPT and some simple prompts that a lot of our clients use with massive success to take an email and account research that might take multiple hours for an enterprise rep to do. And I'm going to show you how you can do it in like 2 or 3 minutes. Okay. So let me show you that first. I'm going to walk you through it. We'll share the document with you so that you can all take it home with you. And then, sir, we're going to have you show us your process. Okay. So let me open up this document real quick so that we can see. And here's what I'm going to share with you in the chat team as soon as I get done demoing it for you. So the way that we think of AI is there's kind of three parts to the framework of how we want to leverage it to do account research for us and how we want to leverage it to write emails and that sort of stuff. We call it prompt, dig, and summarize. I think one of the biggest mistakes that you can make with AI is say, hey, I'm reaching out to an HR leader. Can you write me a cold email? You're giving it zero guidance on what good looks like, the problems that you solve, the people that you're reaching out to, like what they care about it. You're not giving it any good examples of like what you're looking for, none of that kind of stuff. So the very first thing that we want to do is prompt and give the LLM an idea of exactly what we're looking for and err on the side of like lots of specificity. The dig part is once it starts to reveal some information, sir, we'll see your process here in a second. In our experience, there's some back and forth that's needed. Rarely does it produce the perfect thing that you're looking for the very first time that you do it. So you need to be able to talk back and forth with it and tell it exactly what you're looking for. And then I don't want hundreds of pages of stuff that it's going to spit out. I want it to be able to quickly and succinctly summarize what it found. And then I want it to turn it into a cold email. So the way this document works, and again, we'll share it with you. I'm going to show you a finished example of something first, is you can literally just click on this box and you can copy and paste the prompt, drop it right into ChatGPT, Gemini, whatever you're using. So here's ChatGPT. So we actually have an outbound squad GPT. So in this document, you guys can click on that and this will run you through it and it'll just work through the questions to help you build like an account plan or write an email. So I basically said, hey, can you help me build an account plan? And it's like, hey, here's the high level structure. I'm like, I don't really care about that, but I am an executive. And I removed our client's info just to kind of protect them. But I said, hey, I'm an account executive. Like, here's what we sell. This is where you would want to link to your website. This is where if you have messaging around the personas and the problems that you solve, like you can give it lots of really good stuff here that you can drop in this box and just copy paste. So this piece here, literally you want something that you can just drop in. And it's like, okay, cool. Here's who you sell to. Here's who they care about. And I said, I want to go after Wix.com. So Wix.com is a publicly traded company. In this case, they have quarterly annual reports. I said, where can I find those? And it gave me some links on where I could find them. And I just uploaded the transcripts to those and said, now I want your help finding problems that this account is having that our solution can help with. And again, that was literally, I took this prompt exactly word for word and just dropped it right into here. Here's what they do. Here's some challenges that they're having. Here's something new that they're rolling out, etc. Spit out all of this great information. I said, awesome, summarize this. Cool, here's all the stuff that you need to know. And then I said, write an email for me. And that's where, again, I just took this prompt and I just copied word for word exactly what I wanted it to do, how I wanted it to format, everything that I just showed you today. And this was the email that it spit out. I was like, oh, this is not bad. I was like, I think the problem statement here could be much stronger, but it's specific around their AI marketing agent. This is something they just launched. Good opening line, kind of a fill in the blank template where we could drop in some social proof. And I was like, you know, I really want this to hit more specifically around the pain points that they're going to be experiencing that we could help with. And I want it written for Paula, who's their VP of Enterprise Marketing. And like, this is like, just because we work with this client, like this is a really solid email that it produced. This is with like very little back and forth. I would love, Megan, Sir, Jack, your commentary. What do you think about everything that I just showed, like the final output? What are your guys' thoughts? What do you love? What do you hate?
I love the
this.
final result that you got. I actually had this brought to my attention today too, and it's kind of nitpicky. That like double dash that you see between recommendations and especially is like now commonly known as the ChatGPT.
I know,
dash.
right? Yeah.
Um,
What sucks is I actually use those, Megan.
I
And,
know,
like,
I know.
I use them a lot.
Yeah, so I always now I'm like super conscious of it and need to go in and change it every
Yeah.
single and I have noticed that it does make a difference. I'm seeing the chat. I hate that dash.
AI also
Yeah.
loves emojis.
But yeah, I
So-
love the way that you got here to the end result.
I think also like the workflow that I ran you through just now, Sir's going to run you through something that's like a little more high volume. This would be like for those of you doing like high level mid-market enterprise strategic, like you don't have 200 accounts you need to do this with. You have like maybe 5 accounts this week that you want to do a little bit of outbound into. Any other feedback? Sir, Jack, what are your thoughts?
I love this. This is kind of going to feed into a little bit of a spiel I have into kind of the bots that I created as well. But this essentially being the base of where things started for myself as well. So definitely have a lot to say on this whole process.
Yeah, and I'll just wrap up. My thoughts exactly. The only thing that I was thinking of is if you were trying to do this at scale, I could see it maybe taking a little bit more time. But if you're an AE, you're trying to balance the act of prospecting, sourcing, this is perfect. I think this is actually a really well played way of using it. And yeah, leveraging Chat GPT. So I think it's good.
Yeah, I think the other thing that's important is like if you were trying to do a little bit more high volume, you could have it run multiple account research at the same time. And you could have, like for this, I could have had it write multiple emails, like for an enterprise account. I could have it write 10 or 15 different emails based on different roles and people in demand gen and like all of that kind of stuff. I'll drop another link in the chat here in the second. For those of you, the link that's not working. Okay, some people are saying it's where I'll drop another version of this that'll get you straight to the Google Doc. I tried to drop a spreadsheet in this time because you can't have more than 100 people or so on a spreadsheet at a time in Google Sheets. So I wanted to make sure everyone had access. Okay. Without further ado, sir,
Hello.
you got 10-ish minutes if you want it here. Do you want to give us some high-level context into before you start showing us everything? Give us some high-level context to like how this kind of came about. And Megan, feel free to add commentary as well. But how did you develop this process? What was the thinking behind it? Like all of that kind of stuff. And then obviously show us what you're doing, man.
I'll start a little bit on just my belief on AI and what it does for the sales role. I think it does allow us a high level of super agency in our day to day when it comes to being efficient. I think of Yellow Pages all the time. It's the constant brick in my brain that reminds me of how blessed we are. I think of filing regular paper and all this to attain all this information and all the shortcuts that we have now. So I like to think of AI as the future engine that can get us ahead. So I don't think it's about AI replacing us. I think it's about it becoming the new paintbrush. And really, the people that are going to replace you are those that are good with AI, not the tool itself. So the creativity is going to drive the car. With that being said, my journey started about a year and a half ago or so, but it really kickstarted when we started beta testing Copilot. I was part of the beta team about 2 or 3 months early. I got access through one of my account managers that I was partnered with, and Meg. They helped me get some clearance. It blew the lid off of my workflow entirely. The reason I said what you were showing really reminds me of how it all started was it all started in ChatGPT for me. Before Copilot released, like I said, worked with my AM Brady. He was so good. What I put into ChatGPT were the 50 best emails that he had ever CC'd me into. And then my best 20 emails into a bot, taught it ZoomInfo. But every web page that we have, every landing page we have, and every public document that we're allowed to share into the brain, and built essentially a second ZoomInfo account manager. His name is Brady Butterfield, one of my favorite coworkers ever. The name of my channel was Brady Butterfield. It became the source of every email I wrote. Its final step would be put into Brady Butterfield last. So it would edit it, change any sentences that were loose and that could be transformed into a call to action, and it would prime everything between 90 to 110 words. So nothing would break that phone immersion. And it would also give me 3 different subject lines. So I'd be able to mix it up if I was working at scale. I don't want to send 25 people the same email. That led to the evolution of a lot of tools. And also now Copilot has evolved a lot. So I'll go ahead and show you a little bit of my workflow. I don't think I'll be able to fit it into 10 minutes. I won't lie, just but for example, how I operate now is in a playbook. This is 30 plus plays for ZoomInfo specifically in my role that I've found myself doing over and over. A couple of them are empty because they're in edit right now. So I do apologize. It's a little bit of a mess. We're reworking it for a bigger project. So now we're rewording a bunch of it. But for instance, for this specific DAS Sending Lead Outreach play, it's got all my favorite templates in it. It's got all my prompts to get information for it in it. And the reason why is because with Copilot, a lot of my account work is plug and play. Copilot works integrated with my CRM information and my conversation intelligence information and ZoomInfo. So for instance, if I'm bouncing between Green Bay Packaging and Carhartt, I might have an email that killed it at Carhartt that's mentioning their fleet delivery, that's mentioning their outdoor weather deliveries, things like that, and then also mentions what they're lacking in their data. I can directly plug that into a completely different company's Copilot page, and it will fill in those blanks. So those type of steps that make it so I don't have to do, not, I don't want to call it the dirty work, but the long investigation period, I'm saving so much time. Through that, though, I've created this personal challenge. I call it the lapse challenge, where I've put on a timer on my phone, a lapse timer, and I aim to hit every prospect within 10 minutes whenever I'm chasing someone, because I have all the AI tools to do so. So taking it straight from the top, I would put in a prompt, and I have all of our prompts saved here. Show me this account's core use case, break it down into 5 key areas. Here's the rest, these are some basic rules. I'll paste all of that. And then the next, I'll paste how I'm going to tell it what email template I'm going to paste and the purpose of the email template, what to keep, the length to keep it. And then I'll actually post the email template. I'll go back to show that example though. Here, show me this account's use case. Here it is. I'll usually paste that into a doc separate for myself. So if I'm on a cold call with someone, I say, well, how do you help us? I'd be like, well, we help with your sales intelligence, lead generation. Here's the solution. Here's exactly how we help you guys. And I'm ready for those objections. I'm ready to combat them a little bit on the phone. And then I'm going to paste an email template to personalize the template. Here's one that worked at a completely different company, completely different topics and interests though. Here's what it gave me back: supporting Carhartt. Your team is already leveraging our platform to enhance your B2B prospecting across wholesale, company gear, and strategic accounts. Blah, blah, blah. Your recent focus on lead generation and brick and mortar. Love to show you how Copilot can help with no decision making needed, purely focus on aligning with your sales objectives. Very frictionless ending. That's all based on templates that I've worked on through the past 2 years, though. So as much as people want to be like, oh, it's AI, this is my hard work making my day faster, is how I like to put in, or how I like to phrase it. And so next, give me a 90-word talk track and a voicemail track to use before I send the email. Here's my voice track. I'll vet it out real quick. Looks like something I'd say. And then give me 3 follow-up emails if they don't respond over the next week or 2. Please make each one 5 to 10% shorter, because I want it to whittle down a little bit. I don't want to keep bugging them with 100-word emails. 1, 2, 3. And then give me a detailed Google agenda. I use AI to do this because this will improve your good fit show rate. Nothing worse than setting something a week later. And like I said, we in this space, we are working in dog years. So a month is a year. And they're going to forget. So
cool.
put an agenda in there. Tell it to
Dang.
make an agenda for you. Tell
Yeah.
ChatGPT to make an agenda for the email that you just sent. And this is my last example. If you're working through templates and it's still not personal enough, jargon it. Tell it exactly what's on your mind. I had a conversation and I'm aware what's happening here. I know that Carhartt is focusing on outfitting airline companies with over 500 employees. Please rewrite the email, follow-up emails, and talk track with that in mind. Hey, Blake, support, da-da-da. I noticed you focus on outfitting airline companies with over 500 employees. How are you currently identifying and connecting with the decision makers in this specialized segment? And now every email has changed its focus to that point. I know this can get a little long-winded. I'll go a little back and talk one little bit about the bot that ties back into the ChatGPT bot that we're all kind of starting today, or that Jason helped you guys set up today, because I really want to express the long value of it. But I usually start my days assisted by AI, because here's Copilot. It will tell me, Open Exchange, we had a website. Brittany has come to the website multiple times in the past 30 days, enough times to trigger our signals twice in the past 30 days. So I'm definitely going to go to the My Account AI, formulate the best approach for her in a little bit. And this is generally where I start my day. When we start talking about getting to scale though, and building a bot, I won't spend too much time in here. This is a little bit more of an expensive tool, but I'm using Anthropic. I build an outreach plan for all of my customers. The reason I say start doing what Jason laid out the blueprint for is because this is about a year and 2 months worth of building in this robot specifically. I have taught it so much, and this is where things get really cool and exciting. I don't know if anyone here has read the book Super Communicators. I think it's my favorite book I've read in the past maybe 2 or 3 years. It has changed not just my work approach, it's changed my social approach. And so with that, I want my bot to learn with me. I don't have time to teach it chapter by chapter or to teach anyone chapter to chapter if I had a rep under my belt. But you know what's cool? The internet and AI's capabilities. I told it I really enjoyed this book. Charles Duhigg also wrote an article with the Harvard Review about how to use super communication at work. I taught my bot all of super communicators. I taught it the 36 questions that create trust. I taught it Nicholas Epley, the professor of social science, I believe at Chicago University, his approach to how to ask questions and keep the conversation rolling. And now with my bot, after all this time, all I do now is put in the company, their name, and their title. And I get an entire outreach package because I built this. So I get the company overview, what they do, their role focus, 4 key areas where ZoomInfo would help them, how ZoomInfo would help, a full sentence breakdown. ZoomInfo helps strategic planning executives make more informed decisions through yada, 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 yada. 9 subject lines, 3 that are partner focused, 3 that are curiosity driven, 3 that are value framed, an 85 to 110 word email based on what it thinks it needs, voicemail, talk script, other ways that ZoomInfo can support their role, 3 main objections, and here's the breakdown of how AI decided to create this outreach for me based on all the rule sets that I've put in over the past year or 2. So this, I think, is the ultimate example that I can show you of just how far you can take it and why I encourage you to get the key in the ignition right now. It's not a matter of how long this is going to be. This is going to be the future. I think it's about getting in the race today, not really, being upset about catching up, more so just getting your foot in, because the race is just going to keep getting heavier on us.
Dude. Woo!
There we go.
Good shit, man.
On another note, final note, I have a channel for everything. I have a Salesforce notes channel because we have to put in call notes. Yep. I have an agenda channel. I have just a customer email writing channel. I have just a new business channel, and I have a summarizer for my partners. So I'll run it through for like a very basic park bench conversation level. So it removes the jargon, makes it more human, and I'll send that to my partners when we need notes before we walk into a meeting.
There's a couple things I'm super excited about. One is at some point in ZoomInfo, most of what you share, and I bet, is just going to be built in.
That's the goal.
Where it's like you have a cold call or a call that you're going to make, and the screen pops up, and it's like auto-populated all of this stuff. There's already a sample calendar agenda. Like, we're in an age that we're not too far away from that. But I think the other thing, though, that you made such a brilliant point around is how important it is to just be fluent in this stuff.
Yes.
Like, it's so important. Like, you're going beyond just prompts and that sort of stuff. Like, you're training the tool on how to produce the outcome that you want so that it gets better and better and better over time. Dude, the keep it simple, stupid version, Peter, is the version that I showed you. Okay. That's the simple, quick and dirty version. We will send out the recording, everyone, to you after this so that you have it and you can follow along. We do have to bounce. I appreciate Megan, Sir, Jack, everyone coming on to the webinar. I appreciate everyone's engagement here. Megan and Sir, where would you like people to go check out you guys and ZoomInfo and all of that? And are you guys hiring? Where can people go to check you guys out?
Yeah, definitely. Reach out to both of us via LinkedIn. My email is my first name dot last name at zoominfo.com. So if anyone has any questions or wants to chat, feel free to email or add me on LinkedIn. And yes, we are always hiring. So check out the job postings on the ZoomInfo website or reach out via email.
Yeah, please feel free to connect. I am obviously an absolute psycho for technology. So if anybody wants to connect on where the future is heading, you know, I'm all out progress. Really grateful for this opportunity to speak to everyone here, though.
Cool. Jack, where can people go to check out you, Mixmax? Let us know if you're hiring, all that good stuff.
Yeah. I mean, obviously go to mixmax.com, check us out, let us know if you're interested. But if you want to hit me up, just do it on LinkedIn. I'm only a connection away, always willing to chat about sales and the next version of wherever we're going to be in the next year. Always love those conversations. And then my email, just jack@mixmax.com. Hit me up. And yeah, let's continue the conversation.
Cool.
Yeah.
Thanks, team.
Thank
Appreciate
y'all.
you
Have a
You
great
guys.
one.
Everyone,
We'll talk to you
thanks for
soon.
joining.
Have a good one.